Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm from group 1 and I will present about our material that is about definition and background pragmatics. But before I explain the material, I would like to introduce our members. The first is Aldalam Saputra and the second is me, Nurul Aprianti. So let's move to the material. Background. Pragmatics was coined in the 1930s by psychologist and philosopher Charles Morris. Pragmatics was developed as a subfield of linguistics in the 1970s. Definition. Pragmatics is concerned with the study of meaning as communicated by a speaker or orator and interpreted by a listener or reader. This type of study necessarily involves in the interpretation of what people mean in a particular context and how the context influences what is said. The difference between syntax, semantics, and pragmatics. Syntax. Syntax is the study of the relationships between linguistic forms, how they are arranged in sequence, and which sequence are well formed. Semantics is the study of relationship between linguistic forms and entities in the word. Pragmatics is the study of the relationship between linguistic forms and the users of.
Halo, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Aljalam Saputra. Student number is 1852001. I will explain about uh, the advantage of studying pragmatic and advantage of studying pragmatic. For the advantage of studying pragmatics is we can talk about people's intended meanings, their assumption, their purposes or goals, and the kinds of action. It's mean we can we know uh, their assumption when they talk about we can know what they mean, what their assumption. So uh, so we study language by pragmatics. We can know uh, we can know their what they mean, what their assumption. So there is no miscommunication after we studying this. And this advantage is that all these very human concepts are extremely difficult to analyze in a consistent and object way. It means because every people has their concept, their because they has their own thing, their own assumption, uh, and we can it's very hard to understand them, to understand what they mean, what their assumption and their purposes, because of that every 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 people has their concept, has their own thinking. So that's the disadvantage of language of learning the pragmatics. uh, for example, her, so blah 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 did you, and him, hey blah blah blah, who wouldn't. From that example is just such a problematic case. I heard the speaker and I know what they said, but I had no idea what communicated. Because this pragmatics is up, appealing because it's about how people make sense of each other linguistically, but it can frustrating area of study because it requires of it requires us to make sense of people and what they have in mind.